Hello, just fixing my lighting here. Whoops. It's not for you guys, it's for YouTube. YouTube tends to be a bit darker for some reason. Anyway, I'm still sick, so if I have to run to go and cough, I'll be back. Oh, pardon me. Sorry about that. Okay, while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from and how many, or not how many kids you have, but how old are they? Most people who join my lives, especially on Instagram, they're almost all toddlers on Instagram. It's interesting. I get more older kids on here, on TikTok. And YouTube, I don't know yet because I don't really have a following on YouTube yet. I haven't really worked on YouTube yet. But yeah, Instagram's going well and TikTok is my home base. So anyway, where are you from and how old are your kids? Minnesota 3 and 1. Hello, Eternity. Winnipeg 8 and 6. You've been here before, haven't you, J-Dubs? Yeah. I know I've said this before, but my mom came from Winnipeg. She hated it because she was born during the Depression and they had no heat. Imagine living in Winnipeg with no heat. Anyway, all she did was say, it's just freezing cold there. It's freezing cold. Well, yeah, you had no heat. So that's why. Okay, I'm from Ontario and I have a 19-month-old twin boys. You're busy. Okay. Montreal, Quebec, 4, 16, and 24. Ooh, that's a big spread. There's 16 years between my brother and I. Florida, 4. Not 4, but 4. So I've still got a cold, so. Very busy. Yeah, you would be. That's the little twins. Yeah. Excuse me. Okay, I'll tell you what. I don't know how long I'm going to last because I've still got this stupid cold. Is that Vermont? VT? Is that Vermont? Is Vermont a state? What else would that be? Arkansas, 2 years old. Cody, are you the one who said you don't have an accent? Or was that someone from Alabama? I always get all those states mixed up. I have a lot of Southern. I don't have one right now. They just finished. I had a lot of Southern clients. I don't know if they all go to the same school or what. Like I don't ask that. But yeah, I had a whole bunch of Southern clients for a while there, and I pick up that Southern accent like that. Oh, Vermont is a state. Excellent. And you have an accent. Excellent. I love a Southern accent. I pick it up so quickly. I lived in Australia for Vermont. Oh, okay. I remember that Bob Newhart, his second show was in Vermont. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I lived in Australia for 20 years, never picked up an Aussie accent. I talked to a Southern accent for 5 minutes and you'd think I was from there. Okay, that damn cough, I have it too. It always feels like, okay. Yeah. It's really annoying. But it's really good when you're at the gym because when you start horking up a lung, and I wear a mask at the gym, I'm at the tail end of it. You always sound worse when you feel better. I actually feel pretty good, but I just don't sound great. But yeah, if you hork up, if someone's on all the machines that you want at the gym, because I go there every morning, yeah, you start horking and they just sort of all clear out. So it's worked out really well. It's a real scary sounding cough, but I'm at the tail end of it now. So I'm all masked up. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. Excuse me. Yeah, it's not a pleasant feeling when people are repulsed by you, but when you hork up like I do lately, like I'm not spitting anything out, but it sounds awful, right? Like gurgly cough. Yeah, they just look absolutely repulsed by me. You can tell it really bothers me. Oh, it cracked me up. Okay, so your parenting questions. Oh, that tea feels good. Okay. My brother always says if you act good, you can get something at the store. Is that a bad thing to start? Yeah, it is. It's a reward thing. And it makes you sound like you're afraid of them. If you're good, you can get a reward. It's sending the wrong message. It's like saying you're normally bad, but if you should happen to be good, you're going to get like a reward for that. To me, being good is just a baseline. That's my baseline expectation. But when my kids were good, my kids were so easy. So there was always kind of rewards anyway. Like, hey, look, we just had the best week this week. How about we go to the water slide park this week? So and it was never about their behavior. It was just life was great, right? So yeah, you don't reward for good behavior. You just don't. Reward charts, I can't stand them. My kids, I remember once, I think it was my son. He would have been the one to question me for sure. He said to me once something like this. He said, "Do you know when my friends, we're polite to you all the time, And I'm like, yeah, that's because I'm polite to you. I don't yell or anything. It was mutual respect, right? And he says, but when they have a good day, they get a reward. And I said, your reward is having me as a mother. And he'd always go like, oh, yeah, I didn't see that one coming, did I? You need not to challenge me with stuff like that. You think you can manipulate me? Hello. Oh God, that tea feels good. Okay, you asked a very good question. Pediatrician suggested a reward board to help one of my boys eat all his food. Strange, eh? I'm not gonna question a pediatrician. And a lot of my clients are child psychologists, principals, teachers. They have child development degrees. They're allowed to have different opinions. I'm just saying I know what works for me, what I have learned through experience, and what I don't like, and that's okay. It's what I do. I'm not what the other person does. I'm not going to criticize that. I'm not going to criticize your pediatrician. I'm not going to critique them. You know I love it when people challenge me though. Oh my God, I love it. I don't get that a lot anymore, but I used to get a lot of it. I get really excited by it because it means I'm shaking things up, and that's why I'm here. Okay. What do you do when okay, you're not going to like my answer to this one. It's Teresa. What do you do when none of the kids admit to something that was done? How do you know who's lying? You're going to have to get to know your kids. You know what I would do though? Okay, let's say you have two kids and they both said he did it, he did it. Okay. So you say, okay, so and then you say, okay, so what happened? You ask both the kids. And then they tell you, oh, this and that, he did it. And they say, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to interview each one of you individually. And you take them aside. Let's say if they're only 4 years old, you just do this once. And you treat it like a police interrogation. Have some fun with it. Say, okay, exactly what happened. Write down all the notes. Then you ask the other ones separately so they can't hear. Write down all the notes. Watch their body language. I can always tell when kids are lying. They do this a lot and they look, they're kind of like asking for approval. Anyway, they're really good liars. They have some other clues that they give me. But anyway, and here's what you do. You look at all the notes and then you ask them again a few minutes later. Say, let's do that again. I'm not too sure about my notes. If they're lying, they're going to change the story. The truth never changes. Lies change all the time. They keep improving them. The younger they are, the more apt they are to change the story. So yeah, that's how you tell. And then you just say, I'm going to make a call. I think you were lying. Don't tell them why. Just say, I'm going to make that call. I'm your mother. I think I can figure it out. Just sort of make it look like you're magic. I know it was you. And but you got to be kind of sure when you're doing that. But yeah. Please help. How do I get my kid to stop running away from me at the store and not listen? Well, I don't know how old they are. Are they 6 or 2, or let's say they're 2 years old and you're grocery shopping. I would never let a kid out of a grocery cart, not for the life of me, till they won't fit in there anymore. You know, when you have to crack their knees to get them in it, that's when maybe they should walk beside you. But they were always sitting up in that seat, always. If you ever let them out, then that's a mixed message. My kids knew when they went shopping, they sat in that cart. Plus, I brought my cart goodie bag, my shopping goodie bag. It was theirs. It was opened up at the top like that. It was a long, skinny bag like that. And it was a hard plastic thing. And it opened up like that at the top, like an old-fashioned work thing. Anyway, and inside there, every single day, I would rotate all the little toys and treats. And there was little drinks in there. So, and then they were at eye level with me. And it was a really fun thing. They always had something to look at. The second they got out of that shopping cart, that shopping goodie bag was put away. It only ever came out when they were sitting in that shopping cart. Once you give them freedom, you can't say, okay, it's just inconsistent. Also, never let them help you put groceries away, because there's going to be times when you say, here's the Kleenex, you can put not groceries away, I mean in the cart. So they're sitting up in the seat and then you say, here you go. They want to help, right? They don't really want to help, but they just want to see what they can do, right? So you hand them the Kleenex. Then you have the eggs. You don't want to give them the eggs to put in the cart. They don't understand why they can't put eggs in the cart. It's mixed messages. Parents do this all the time. I would see it all the time in grocery stores. All these mixed messages. Okay, if you walk beside the cart, then you be good. Then you won't get it. It's just a disaster. Anyway, so yeah, never let them out of that shopping cart. Just make sure that that's just the rule. And you get the goodie bag when you sit in there. And that's it. If they are runners, though, then put them on a leash. Restrain them. You put a harness on them when you go out and snap them in. If you allow your children to help out when you're grocery shopping, they're not going to understand you don't pull down glass bottles and all that stuff. You see, you're mixed messages. It's not fair to the kids. Sorry, I'm really uncomfortable. Like, you know how you get the wheels on the chair? They're not aligned with the corner of the desk properly. Not that you care. Anyway. Okay. Whoops, they just flipped through a whole bunch. Okay. When will my son grow out of tantrums? He's 2. Sorry, I don't invite anyone in here. They usually about 3.5. They should be having their last tantrum around then. But when you're good at managing them, I have a ton of videos on that. I also have a toddler tantrum busting course. When you get good at handling tantrums, they do decrease in intensity, duration, and frequency. So they will peter out. But the last one usually is around 3.5. That's when at 3, they can start to stop and think before they act. Plus, they're starting to learn that you're never going to feed a tantrum. It's never going to get them what they want. By the time they're 3.5 to 4, they only do what works. So tantrums never, ever, ever work. Like in my house, it would never have worked. Maybe with their dad. But then he learned too, you never give into a tantrum. So once they learn never to have, like they're never going to work, they just stop doing them. So it's about 3.5, but they will peter out if you get good at dealing with them. Not right away, it takes a while. What you're asking them is to control their own emotions. You can't fast track that. It's impossible. I know people say that. I know it's trendy right now. You discuss their big feelings and big emotions. That's garbage. That was invented. I saw that coming 30 years ago. And I said, this is just garbage. And sure enough, it is. It's all this mini therapy session with toddlers. It was invented for the mom. It's feeding the mom's needs, not the toddler at all. That's just for the mom. So yeah, you cannot help a toddler regulate their own emotions. They will learn that, hey, wait a minute. They'll start to put the pieces together that this ain't working. I always put my son in the cart. Yeah, I think by the time my kids got out of that shopping cart, they were probably about 12 or 16. Like they were just always in there, but they always had the goodie bag. So it was a win-win. They loved it. They couldn't wait to get in there because they got the goodie bag, right? And then by the time they were 3, they weren't in there anymore. They were easy little kids because they knew mom was in charge. So they just knew they hang on to the cart. And then I would let them help. There's exceptions to all this. Once you're a really strong, calm leader, you can break all the rules. Like I would say, okay, today you can help out, but with this and with this. And they were respectful because they knew mom was in charge. So they knew that if I gave them Kleenex, they could put that in the cart. But when you're first doing this and you're working on your leadership, you see, I don't teach what I did because I got that cemented when they were tiny. So they never challenged me. They just knew I was in charge. But when you're learning, you can't do that. There's no exceptions. You have to be 100% consistent. Why did you feel guilty about having him in the cart? Get the goodie bag. He'll be fighting to get in that cart. My kids loved it. But then by the time they were out of the cart, I think they were 3, probably around there, probably a little bit younger. Yeah. And they just knew you just walk beside mom or whatever. But they knew though, if they had done anything disrespectful or rude or anything, and they also had to get out of the way of other people. There was no way I wanted my kids to be a nuisance I didn't want them standing in the middle of the aisle. So they learned you have to stand right beside me, but behind the cart. So I'd move over a little bit so they were never in the way. It's just manners, right? They learned that really young. And they actually probably preferred sitting up on top. So someone said, my son started tantrums at 10 months. Don't feel bad. Yeah, they can start tantrums at newborn. You know how they do it? If they can't get on the boob quick enough. And they go like this, and then they just turn red and they start to cry, and it's hard to get them on at that point. You have to squeeze a bit of milk in to start, they go, oh, okay. So yeah, they are born with a temper. Do you know how I knew my son was going to have tantrums? He was inside me. My daughter never had them, and I knew she wasn't going to have them either. Anyway, he was inside me. And you know when they push their heel up into your solar plexus and you lose your breath? You gasp? And I would push his foot back down. You know how you have to try and figure out how to get their foot out of your chest there? So I'd push his foot back down. He'd push back, and then he'd move around. And I thought, oh, I'm in for it. He didn't have big tantrums. He was actually quite an easy kid, but he did have tantrums. Whereas my daughter, when I did that with her, she would pull her foot in and she wouldn't move for ages. So I thought, oh, she's going to be a piece of cake. And she was. So yeah, they're born with it. It's a personality trait. It's not something you've trained them to do. You can train them to continue having tantrums for sure. If there's a payoff, attention is tantrum food, then that just elongates the tantrum. But yeah, you can't train a kid. Like I've never had a tantrum. I can remember, like I don't really have much of a temper either. Like it's the same thing. A temper is a tantrum. It manifests itself as a tantrum when they're little. Anyway, I can remember I was probably about 2, and I can remember watching other kids having tantrums and thinking, "What are they doing?" Like, I just thought it was the weirdest thing. I couldn't understand it. They were, like, spinning, like, I just didn't understand it. And my daughter was exactly the same. She'd see another kid having a tantrum, she'd be looking at them all confused, like, "What are they doing?" So, yeah, it's very hard to understand because it's not figure outable. It doesn't make it any sense whatsoever. Okay, you got twins that are boys tackling the girl, just separate them, and then get them playing on their own individually. It's not an easy thing. They're not gonna learn overnight. He's gonna keep coming at her for quite some time. You're just gonna have to be on top of that, okay? Separate them. They're only 13 months. Put one of them in a cot, or not a cot, what is that thing called? The playpen, or a play center, like, separate one, then the other, one, then the other. You can't discipline them out of that at 13 months old. He's just going to have to be diverted and doing other things. That's all. Every time he does, maybe take a toy away and then move him somewhere or whatever. He's not going to learn quickly. It's going to be a very slow process. Do you redirect when they have tantrums? If they're babies, yes. If they're 16 months and older, no, no way. Because I just did a video on that yesterday. Where is it? Oh, yeah. The video was, just a sec. Don't use diversion or redirection. I'll read out what I did in the video. It's just my description of it. If they're under 16 months old, you can redirect bad behavior by sitting nearby, reading their favorite book out loud to yourself. So you're just reading out, "Oh, and the fox," and make it sound really interesting. Hopefully they'll calm down and climb into your lap to read with you. So you're not actually going, "Here's something." You're just it's redirecting, but not in a direct way. It's indirectly redirecting, if that makes any sense. Now, if they're 16 months and older, never use diversion or redirection, because it's kind of a reward. You want them to start learning that there's never going to be a reward. So even reading like that is kind of, "Oh, if I act bad, something good might happen." It's sort of in the gray area. But yeah, if they're 16 months older, okay, so if 16 months plus, never use diversion or redirection, as it's in the reward for bad behavior department, because they're starting to be able to understand discipline at this point. The reason is that you never divert with broccoli. It's always with something they like or something exciting, right? You've just taught them that if they do something bad, there's a reward. So that's why you don't redirect past the age of 15 months. 15 months and under, to me, is still a baby. What's your take on kids and teens playing video games, especially violent? I don't like the violent stuff, but when they're teenagers, they're going to see it anyway. They're going to go to friends' houses. They're going to have them on their phones. If they don't have it on their phone because you blocked it, their friends are going to have it. They're going to see it anyway. So you can't fight what you can't control. And if you do control what you can't, if you try and control what you can't control, you look like you don't know what you're doing. Your kids pick up on this. They don't know what the heck they're doing. So yeah. But teens, kids, you can control kids more. But once they're teenagers, don't try and control a teenager. The idea is you want them to be able to control themselves, but they are going to play violent video games. They are going to look at what online. They just are. Be realistic. They are. No matter how many blocks you put on your kids' phones, their friends aren't always blocked, and their friends' older siblings are not always blocked. So they go to someone's house and their older sibling shows them something. I hear this all the time. Parents say, "I don't know where he saw it." I'm like, "Yeah, well, let's do some research here." I'm pretty sure it happened when he did that sleepover. Remember they had older brothers? Oh my God, you're right. Yeah. Sure enough, the older brother put the phone down, left it there, and the younger brother showed this for, I hear it all the time. Okay. So how do you get your 3-year-old to stop telling the 9-month-old what to do in a mean tone? That's in the attitude department. I just did a video on that tonight. Did I post it yet? Let me see. I don't know if I posted that one yet. Anyway, it's in the attitude department, and it's 3 years old. 3 years old, they go on the behavior board. That's free in the link above. So you can never put attitude on there, but you can say, "I'll tell you what, I don't like you being mean to your younger brother. So every time I've decided you're being mean," so don't say "stop being mean." Say, "When I decide you're being mean to your little brother." That's a tough one to do. It kind of goes against what I said about never put attitude on there. But you could sort of have a caveat there and say, when you talk to him like that, that's what I'm referring to. So it's bossiness. It's kind of bullying, and I do address bullying. Okay. I got to get my TikTok up here because I've got something else. I just want to see which one I posted now. I'm curious. The other two, I did 3 videos just 10 minutes ago. I only posted one of them. I'm going to post the other 2 tomorrow morning. Just a sec here. I'm just everything takes so long. Whenever I'm doing a live, I've got a live going on YouTube, so my computer's also I've got like 4 screens going here. It's so slow. Okay, just a sec here. Oh, agony waiting. Okay, kids rules. Oh, kids rules need to be action based. That's the video that I just posted tonight. Okay. Okay. J Dubs. Okay, I will ask a question. Who opened this pop? Like, for example, who opened this pop? And I tell her she won't get in trouble by honesty. Is it a phase or learned behavior? Yeah. I always say you'll get in less trouble by being honest, but if they've done something wrong, there's still got to be a consequence. I don't really call it trouble. Say, yeah, the consequence will be easier if you own up to it. But there's still, and I used to say to my kids, well, you did something wrong. There has to be a consequence, right? And they go, yeah, sorry, mom. They just learn that if you make a bad choice, there has to be I say that's my job. I have to teach you that. That's my job. And I take it seriously. And they would apologize to me. If I had to discipline them, they would apologize to me. Sorry, mom, you're right. Sorry. Is it a phase or learned behavior? What, lying? I don't know what you mean by that. So they don't admit to taking something and then lying about it. I don't know if I'd call that learned behavior. I don't know the age. So learned behavior, yes, or blame, sorry, comment earlier. Oh, they're blame, sorry. Okay, I'm not quite following that. Never mind. How do I handle my 2-year-old's tantrums while in the stroll while walking our dogs? What do you mean? Handle, why? Are they strapped in? You know what I might do though, if they can't see you, it's important that they see you looking like you're waiting for a bus. Like when you're ignoring a tantrum, they have to be able to see you looking like this. Just waiting, you're just waiting. So I'd probably stop the stroller and then just stand in front of it and just go like this. I'd look at my watch and just sort of wait. You want them to see you ignoring them. Just like you're just waiting. As soon as they're finished, oh, you all done? Okay, let's get going now. You ignore the crazy, reward the calm. You want them to see you ignoring the crazy, and you want them to see you rewarding the calm. It's a process. That is how they learn. They start to put the pieces together. They start to build that connection. Oh, I get it. Ignore the crazy. I get no attention. As soon as I'm calm, I get attention. You see? Thank you. We watch you all the time, and we're so grateful. Oh, excellent. You're very welcome, Tara. I'm here because I know I'm making a difference because I get emails every day. And I love doing this. Plus, I'm older than all of you now. So I feel like I'm mothering you all. You're all my kids' ages. So, and I have this huge maternal instinct in me. Got to go somewhere. Got to go somewhere. And I couldn't figure out, why don't I need a dog anymore as much? Because I always needed to mother something because my dog died last year. And I've always had pets my whole life because I've always needed something to mother. It's because I'm on here every day mothering you guys. It's that mothering instinct. I have to be mothering. I don't know why. It's bizarre. It's an absolute need I've had my whole life. That's why I used to, when I was 11 years old, I was volunteering in daycare centers. By the time I was 18, I was going into hospitals and volunteering with kids there. I've always needed to do a lot of mothering. Isn't that weird? Anyway. Okay. How can I by the way, put the age about the personal hygiene. I need the age for that one. Okay. How can I discipline my 5-year-old when she talks back or doesn't want to listen to me in public? Does she do that at private? And I'm assuming she does because you put in public, which means she's different in public, which means you are. So if they sense that you've got no backbone when you're out in public because you're too embarrassed to parent, I was proud of it. My kids knew 100% exactly how I'd react to everything. Didn't matter where we were. We could be anywhere in the world, anywhere, and I was the exact same mother no matter where we went. The only thing I might do differently is out in public, I might say, I didn't like that. I'll deal with that when we get home. Do you understand? And that's deferred punishment, keeps them shaking in their boots, wondering what I'm going to do. So, yeah, I never had to say that, but that's what I would have said. Yeah. So it just means you're not consistent. They know you're afraid of what people think. So they know when they're out in public, they can get away with murder, right? Right. I was more like this. Okay, I'm going to be disciplining. Watch the show. Just, I was very proud of it. I'll tell you the story. This is a cute story, actually. It's my son. It was his second to last tantrum. He was 3 years old, and we were walking through a mall. And it was a very loud, busy mall, so I could do this, and I wasn't disturbing people. So anyway, he, for some reason, we weren't even talking. I don't know what was wrong with him. Anyway, so he threw himself on the ground and had a tantrum. So I pulled him off to the side, and I just got out my nail file, and I just ignored him. So this is in a very busy, loud mall. So these young moms kept coming up to me. Oh, you should give him a hug. Talk to him about his feelings. I'm like, oh, God. So I'm like, keep moving. Because I had tons of experience with kids before I had my own. I'm like, keep moving, keep moving. But these grandmothers and parents and moms with older kids kept coming up to me saying, good on you. You know what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, I do. Who are you going to listen to? The experience or the newbie? Right? No comparison. Parenting is experience-based. It just is. But yeah. I was proud of the fact I was ignoring. Anyway, it didn't go on that long. It was only his second to last tantrum. When he was done, I said, you all done? Okay, let's get going. I don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. I completely ignore them. I ignore everything about them. And then as soon as he's done, he's calm. I reward the calm. I'm modeling calm behavior when I'm filing my nails. I'm just waiting. It's like I'm waiting for a bus. It's important that they see you know that it's important that they know you know they're doing it, though. Like I would not just turn my back and look at a phone or anything. I think that's rude. Okay. So it's important that they know you. I might look down every so often like this. Oh, you're not done yet. Like that kind of attitude. Okay. It's definitely harder to ignore the tantrum in public because you want it to stop, but I have you in the back of my head. Yeah, I was proud of that because did I care about those newbie moms trying to give me this advice about all this new age crap that's garbage? Did I care about them? No, they meant nothing to me. Did I care about those grandmothers and moms with older kids? Yeah, they got experience. Those were the ones I cared about what they thought. So those are the ones that I'm impressing with this. And I didn't care anyway. I knew what I was doing. I didn't care what anyone thought. But yeah, I took that as a compliment when the older experienced moms were coming up to me saying, good on you. You know what you're doing. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. What if the child keeps asking why you're ignoring them? Why would you answer that? That's not ignoring means you ignore them. If they're screaming and screaming, just go like that. Just wait. They will connect the dots. They can have one confusing tantrum or two. It's okay. That's okay. It's always harder on you than it is on them. People seem to think it's a crisis. Someone actually used that word. You never ignore a child in crisis. Right. A tantrum isn't crisis. It's nothing. It's nothing like crisis. As if it's some big crisis or something. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? What do you do if they keep asking why? What do you mean, what do you do? I don't know what you mean. Asking why to what? I don't answer that. You don't need to answer that. You mean why I'm ignoring the tantrum? I don't tell them I'm ignoring it. I just do it. If they're screaming and kicking and screaming, there's no way I would answer any questions or anything. I ignore the crazy and reward the calm. They connect the dots after that first 2 or 3 tantrums doing that and you ignoring it. Then as soon as they're done, oh, you ready to, oh, y'all done? You want to go to the park? They connect the dots. Don't explain it to them. They'll figure it out. People always, it's funny because they always say, but don't you need to explain it? You just told me your child is gifted and brilliant. Now you're telling me they're a moron. They can't figure that out. They will figure it out. Your 3-year-old's favorite word is no because it works. It upsets you, gets a reaction for sure. They wouldn't be doing that if like I never heard that word because my kids knew I would just whatever. Like it wouldn't have affected me at all. When you tell him to do something, he asks why. Well, you have to tell me what it is. Like if you ask him to do something that's confusing, I might say, usually if I ask a kid to do something, I'd like you to put your dishes in the dishwasher because we all clean up after ourselves. I've already explained it. I explain things. So if they ask me why, I might go, already said why. Then if they ask again, I would not answer that. No way. No way. They're just, what they're doing is they're saying, how weak are you? How much can I manipulate you? Can I get you into a conversation? Change your mind? That's what they're doing. Oh, don't get political on here. It's not the place. It's ridiculous. Okay, must be kids on here. Where's your parents? Okay. What do I do about a hyperactive 16-month-old who won't sit still, like go turning around the house? Okay, that's fine. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with an active kid? Those are all the kids I worked with. You think I ever got an easy kid who just sat there and was doing puzzles? No. I got the tornado kids. I'm going to give you my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. This will make your life easier. Okay, number 1 is childproof your home so you never have to say no. So if they're running around the house, if it's all childproof, what do you care if they're running around the house? Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Just rotate maybe once a week or something. I've got lots of videos on that. I just did one the other day, toy rotation system. Number 3 is when you want to connect with your toddler, you enter their world. You don't take a 3-year-old to the nail salon to connect with them. You get down on the ground and play blocks with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. You enter their world. You become a 2-year-old with them. That's how you bond with them. They start to look at you differently. Number 4, stop with the mini therapy sessions when you're disciplining. All the, well, you know you shouldn't have done that. You were very naughty, and you know you're feeling, you hurt my feelings when you did all those mini therapy. That's not disciplining a toddler. That's ridiculous. That's feeding your own needs. You want to do the mini therapy sessions? That's really not. It's not what they're all about. If you're going to be disciplining a toddler, it's consistent corrective actions. They're not about words. They're about actions. So again, you enter their world when you're disciplining too. Actions are their world. Tantrums are their world. It's all physical, right? It's not about words. And number 5 is probably the most important thing about parenting toddlers. Stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure outable just because they haven't formed yet. How can you figure out something that hasn't even formed yet? They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and for that first year, you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like, they're just brand new. They might even go like this and put poop all over the wall. To that toddler, that might be completely normal. Are you going to try and figure that out? Good luck with that. It doesn't make any sense. They don't make any sense. They're all feet, no brains, cute as a button, or they're all feet, no brains. Yeah, they got a bit of brain, but you know what I'm saying. They haven't formed yet. They can't start to reason. What I mean by reason is think before they act. They can't really start to do that till they're about 3. At 3, they can solidly do that. Doesn't mean they will. It means that they are starting to have the ability to do it. That's why the behavior board starts at 3. They have the ability to stop and think before they act, but it's a process. They're not going to get it right away. But yeah, under that, like 2, they just, you know. Oh, this is so cute. You're awesome. Not that I'm awesome. That's not the cute part. My kids are starting to look at me crazy while I ignore their tantrums. That's excellent. They look at you like, what the heck? It's very confusing for them if you've never done it before. You wouldn't believe, because I've worked with hundreds of kids, and because the way I deal with them, no one's ever dealt with them like that before. And when I deal with them, they're just looking at me like, what? What's with her? What's with her? They're so confused by it, but they're good. I could get respect from any kid. That's just leadership. How should I handle my toddler who refuses help from dad? Dad is very present and active. So in other words, they just want mommy. It's sort of a my way or the highway with the toddler. So just say, well, dad's doing it, and then leave the room. Are they going to kick and scream? Yeah, at first, because they're not used to that. Once they get used to it, then yeah. Thanks for all your wisdom. Yeah, I got wisdom. I'm 63 years old. I ain't got much, but I got wisdom and experience. You can't rush wisdom. I was always old for my age. I was born old. Like I was always goofy with humor, but I was always the one that I was the designated driver. If anyone got drunk, they always handed me the keys. Even if they didn't know me, they just knew, hand them to her. So I was always sort of and I thought I had wisdom. It's not till I really hit 60, I thought, oh, I get it. You really know who you are. It's hard to explain. You have to get old. You have to get wrinkles and sags before you can get wisdom. It's not fair, is it? You can be a lot smarter than me, but you can't be wiser. Like not with just that old lady wisdom. But yeah, you have to get old to get it. I thought I could rush it. I couldn't. Okay, the behavior board. The behavior board is, it's just something that you put up on a big whiteboard or a big poster board. And what it is it has 3 sections. The last one doesn't really matter. You can look at that online. The most 2 important sections are the rules and the consequences. Everybody is on there. Everybody has a rule. Mom, dad, Johnny, Sally, everybody. If you have a baby, put them on there. Little, Dominique. So put down Dominique, and her rule is if she's under the age of 3, put down be a baby or be a toddler. So they're still on there because it's a family thing. Consequences, everyone has a consequence. Everyone has a rule, everyone has a consequence. Pick something you know you can follow through on. If you're doing this by yourself without me, like if you hire me for coaching, I'm going to make it a lot harder because I know how to fix it up if you fail. I know how to use that to our advantage. If you're doing this on your own, do a rule you know you can follow through with. It doesn't mean the kids are going to be following it. It means that you're going to be following through with the consequence. Consequences for you are something like this. It's if you yell, you always put down your rule is always no yelling if you yell. Make sure you do yell though. If you feel one coming on, don't suppress it because you want to be able to show them how this works. If you yell, they get to punish you. The consequence is something like this. If they're little kids, you have to play hide and seek with them for 10 minutes. If you yell, you have to play with them for 10 minutes. Kid-led play, whatever they want kind of thing. So you yell at them and then they get a reward for that. You do something nice for them. If they hit, you always put no hitting as their rule. And there's always two consequences for the kids. There's a positive action. So if they do something, if they break the rule, the consequence is they have to help with laundry or something. If they won't do that, say that's fine. Then you go to the second consequence. There's always two of them on the board for the kids. Positive action, if they won't do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation. You say, okay, you don't have to do the laundry if you won't do it then. Okay, 24-hour media blackout starts now. No, I'll do the laundry now. Too late. I already said the blackout starts now. You have to follow through. I'm going to start coughing just a minute. Oh, I had to get my water. So yeah, as soon as you've said, if you have to resort, like don't keep saying, you know, if you don't do the positive action, you're going to get the negative. Don't talk like that. Just say, okay, so you hit your little sister, whatever it is, I don't know. So you hit, now you have to help with the laundry. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Say, okay, then 24-hour media blackout. That's how it goes. Don't argue with them about it. Don't say, well, if you don't do that, then you see, you make it sound like you're weak. Body language, tone of voice is everything. I do this all the time in coaching. I go into this a huge amount. I show a lot of body language when I'm talking to my clients. Like I'll say, so when you're doing that behavior board, I did a, I think it was today, I can't remember. Anyway, I was talking to someone and I said, let's say you have a 9-year-old and they've broken the rule. And it's a big rule, okay? So they've broken a rule and you've said to them, okay, so let's go to the behavior. You always go right to the behavior board. Okay, you broke that rule. So the consequence is you have to empty the dishwasher tonight. And within 10 minutes of being asked to do so. So 10 minutes starts now. And then don't say a word. I don't care if they go in their room and shut the door and slam the door. I don't care. You're just looking at your watch. You're waiting for that 10 minutes, okay? So as soon as that 10 minutes is up, they've chosen not to do that. You only do this with a 9-year-old, by the way, this level I'm going to go to. So I don't like to talk about this a lot, but I'm going to. It just shows the power of this behavior board, how you use it as they get older. So with teenagers, it's different. This is a 9-year-old, okay? He's really pushing you here. So he didn't do the first consequence, and he slammed the door in his room, and he thinks it's all over. That's it. He thinks you don't have the balls to go in after him. You're gonna. 10 minutes is up, beep, beep. Hopefully it's an alarm he can hear, so he knows that 10 minutes is up. So you go in his room and you say, okay, so the dishwasher wasn't done, so 24-hour media blackout starts now. Do you understand? So then you leave. He comes after you, and he's coming after you hard. He's swearing at you, calling you names. He is mad. This is you. You say, I'll tell you what. If you come after me again, I'll make it even worse. And he comes after you again. He says all this horrible, awful stuff. Say, okay, that was your choice. So instead of 24-hour media blackout, it's 48 hours. Do you understand? Calm, like it's a business transaction. Let him go insane. Let him kick a hole in the wall if he has to. This is like a kid who's really out of control. You have to be willing to up it. You have to be willing to call him on everything. You just have to. If you allow him to win these battles, this is a big battle with a 9-year-old. You don't double the media blackout for under the age of 9. And even then, you got to be really careful how you do that, because now you got 2 days of hell, 48 hours of no screens, and this kid's going to be a terror for 2 days. It's not a pleasant place to go, but sometimes you have to. That's the power of that behavior board. You can use that to your advantage and really drive your point home that you are in charge now. They are not in charge anymore. Anyway, the whole time you've got that 48-hour media blackout. For that whole 2 days, you do it with them. You always do media blackout with them. Because it's not like you're going to go, oh, look at my phone. I mean, that would just be awful. So say, well, I'm going to do it with you. How about we play a board game? No, F you, I hate your guts. Okay, never mind. As soon as they calm down, you ready for that board game now? You're continually for 2 whole days trying to connect with them, trying to invite them in. I don't care if they just keep saying F you and they never, ever, ever play with you. I don't care. All I care about is you. That matters to them. Every time you ask, it means you still love them and you're trying to connect with a good kid. You still think they're good kids. It's just powerful. It's really powerful. When we do that, I'm very careful with that one. I don't hand that one out very often in coaching, but when we do, we need to, and you see the results when that one. I have to really train the parents on how to do the body language, so it's so important. Do you get that though? How it's just a business transaction. That behavior board is business. The rest of the time you can be crazy and kooky, running around with underpants on your head, doing arm farts with your kids. You're crazy. Have fun with your kids. You always you deal with the bad behavior, but then you focus on the good kid. That's why for 48 hours, I'm trying to connect with the good kid. I may never see it, but I'm trying to find it. Always. I used to mentor troubled teens. Do you think there was a lot of good kid there when I first started working with them? I had to look for opportunities. I was always trying to connect with the good kid. And eventually I got it. That's where I learned that. I really learned it with the delinquent teenagers I mentored. They taught me more than anyone in life probably ever has. They taught me I had patience coming out the wazoo. I didn't know I even had that. If you show anger, they win. If you show anger, it doesn't work. Like if you were to say, okay, fine, now you got 24-hour media blackout. You see, if you were to talk like that, you've lost. You're not a leader. Is it hard? Yeah, but it's short-term pain for long-term gain. You're investing in tomorrow. You got to go through the storm. It's very painful to not get angry. It hurts because you are angry. But if you know where you're headed, like my clients often say to me after a few weeks of working with me, they'll say, if I'd known where I could get, it would have been so much easier. Because if you're not really sure you're going to get there, it's harder to do. Just trust the system. It just works. Anyway, check out the link above if you want to buy a course or hire me, whatever. It's all up to you. Leadership is all on you. You lead, they will follow. Except when they're teenagers, things change. When they're teenagers, it changes. They're my favorite age, teenagers. I'm going to give you my 3 top tips for parenting teenagers. My 3 top tips, parenting teenagers. Listen to understand and show empathy. You do not listen to gather information to lecture with. If they want your advice, they're going to ask for it, and they already know it anyway. Okay, so you listen to understand, show empathy, and then stop talking. Like, just don't talk. Just go, yeah, that would be frustrating. I get that. Yeah. I'm here if you want to talk. Stop talking. They'll tell you everything. When you get good at listening, I call it silent listening because you're not offering any advice. If you get good at this silent listening, they'll tell you everything right through the teen years. They won't be able to stop themselves. You're going to be a safe place to land. They're going to trust you. Okay? You're not condoning what they're saying. That's not how they interpret it at all. You're just listening. Okay. So listen to understand, show empathy. Number 2 is negotiate pretty much everything. I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? It's like that. It's not that simple, but it's like that. And then number 3 with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff because you're going to need it potentially. So let the small stuff go. They have to be able to make mistakes, just like you did. I think I'm going to have to go. I'm starting to get a coughing attack. Sorry about that. Bye now.